All right, everyone. The other day, the last person in the race who wasn't Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders decided to drop out. Tulsi Gabbard took her 2 or 3% in the aggregate and decided to go home. She endorsed Joe Biden. And this makes the Bernie fans really goddamn angry because they saw her as a natural ally. The same with like Yang. They were pissed off when Yang did this too. That means that right now the entire field has endorsed Joe Biden with the exception of Marianne Williamson, who endorsed Bernie, and keeps shilling for him online, probably hoping to get a little bit of a windfall. And Elizabeth Warren / Julian Castro, who, of course, the latter endorsed the former. The former is not endorsing anyone until the end. If it becomes clear that Biden has clinched it, which he probably does in 3 weeks from now, he could probably expect a gainer endorsement. Not that it really matters. He's already won at that point. Anyway, Warren is sitting in it's very, very sour grapes-esque. And I would think if she were going to be the potential running mate for Biden, she would have endorsed him early. That would have basically ended the race same day. Everybody else is stacked up behind Biden. Now, to the Bernie fans, let me explain in very clear, pragmatic terms why Tulsi Gabbard decided to endorse Joe Biden. It's because she's not a lunatic. She understands Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee and has been since the last slew of primaries, exactly on time as I predicted. And if Ohio had voted, it would be even more clear because Joe Biden would have an extra, 50, 60 delegate lead from having crushed Sanders in another state. There aren't enough states left in which Bernie Sanders has the potential to be competitive for him to even stop Biden from gaining an absolute majority, probably. At this point, there's about an 80% chance Biden clinches a majority before the end, and a virtually 100% chance that he goes in with a significant enough lead that it would be asinine and suicidal for anyone else but him to be the nominee. That's what's going to happen. Biden also plays the pandering game better. Here's why Bernie Sanders lost. Because he's not willing to change any element of his message. He makes a decision, and he makes it back in the 70s, and he sticks with it for the better part of a half a century. Some of the hippie-trippy solar panel Jimmy Carter stuff that he pushed back then that would have been considered refreshing and new is stale and old now. In fact, some of it's not even particularly far out there until recently, until this decade. Bernie Sanders was relatively pro-gun, or at least not as anti-gun as the average Democrat. That was an aberrance that kept him from having a D after his name, too. And was against open borders. Now he says throw them open and take the ARs. So yeah, he's changed his mind. He's gone even further out there into la-la land. He's a fanatic. And that's why he's losing. He wasn't willing to back down from some of his own suicidal proclivities, like using the term socialist to describe himself. A proper pivot would have been for him to say, well, the definition of socialism, as most people would understand, I suppose I'm not a socialist, I'm a social democrat. That would have gone a long way towards gaining him voters. Would it have been greasy and clearly wrong because he's clearly, self-admittedly, self-avowedly, legitimately, encyclopedically a socialist? Yeah, of course it would, but it would have taken care of ma and pa middle America that don't want to vote for a socialist but might not have a problem with a social democrat even though there's no such goddamn thing. It would have helped for strategic purposes. But Sanders doesn't care about strategy because he's a goddamn fanatic. He's never had to run an election that he's won. Because the only other time he's done this was 2016. Other than 2016 and now, he's never run among people that represent a broader United States consensus. He's run among Burlington residents for mayor of Burlington long ago in the hippie era. Extreme far leftism. All the hippies moved to Burlington. There was a while when Sandy Good was living in Burlington. Did you know that? One of the Manson girls? Hell, Lynette Fromm moved into upstate New York not long ago. Region's a little bit odd. Vermont, at large, at first as a representative and then as a senator. Those are the races he's had to run, among Vermonters or specifically upper Champlain Valley Vermonters. About the most far left you can possibly get. It'd be like saying, well, I've run 5 successful campaigns in San Francisco. I'm ready for the big time, and then taking a San Francisco platform and trying to export it to the entire country. It doesn't work. Tulsi Gabbard, at the end of the day, is far left. I see her as a leftist. She is extremist on anti-gun. She's an extremist on open borders. She's an extremist on wanting to punish the wealthy, the successful. She's far out there, but even she's not as far out there on many of these things as Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders doesn't have a clue what he's doing. The problem is he was never going to be particularly likely to win. You got an old sort of doddering dude. He's running the same platform he ran before. In a good economy, you're running an economic reform platform. That was, problem number one. The age and health issues, truly, number two. I'm not saying that Biden doesn't have the same issues, but it's a little bit worse with Sanders. Sanders didn't have a heart attack 5 years ago. He had one on the campaign trail. Biden, his main health issues were long ago. I understand the dementia aside, but it doesn't seem that Democratic voters care about dementia as much as they care about fanaticism, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. At least Joe Biden is he's a sane man who's slowly losing his marbles. Bernie Sanders is an insane man who's old enough to potentially lose his marbles too. Can you imagine if you have a socialist president pushing 80 years old and he starts losing his mind? What kind of problems that could cause for the country? Especially if you imagine he refuses to resign and the Democrats have to kick him back out. Then all of his fans would go crazy. They'd think it was some sort of neoliberal coup anyway. Be a huge problem. Good luck choosing a running mate. But no, it's not a DNC corruption. The fix is in. No. It has nothing to do with that. Tulsi Gabbard is trying to save her political career by hitching her wagon to the horse that's going to win the race. It's purely pragmatic. She doesn't have to agree with him. Even in her address on the issue, she admits, I don't agree with him on everything. By the way, she would have said the same thing if she had endorsed Bernie. They're not identical politically. There's more overlap maybe than with a Joe Biden, but Joe Biden at the end of the day is the one that's capable of winning. There's no reason in backing Sanders, even if she thought Sanders would win the nomination, she might stand down. Because Sanders can't win the general. Well, there's no reason to bother endorsing the person that goes on to lose in a spectacular fashion. It'd be worse than Jimmy Carter's re-election bid at that point, in the electoral sense. It'd be a goddamn slaughter. I've been telling people that for months. If Bernie Sanders were the nominee, I would just declare Trump the winner on day one because it would be so goddamn freaking obvious. But the Bernie bros, who are a minority within just the Democratic Party, don't want to understand this. They want free shit. They want free everything. They don't care about the effect on the economy. Just give them free shit and make the United States into a larger, more energy-wealthy version of Venezuela as far as they're concerned. Borders are racist. Guns are evil. Well, some of the Bernie fans at this point are arming up. So good to them. At least there's one thing we would agree on. Everyone should have guns. They don't care about what the tax rate is. They just know that they want it higher. They're willing to obliviously look away while Bernie Sanders essentially admits that elements of the productive middle class would get taxed more. You would be looking at massive increases in the cost of living. By the way, little mind game here. Which one is the American voter going to trust more for an economic downturn that was fundamentally caused by an epidemic that spawned in China? Are they going to choose the person who's a business magnate who's reigned over a largely powerful economy? Or are they going to choose the non-incumbent, the untested non-incumbent who represents the Obama era with its sort of weak economy? Or even more, imagine that the nominee were a socialist and wanted to fundamentally overhaul every aspect of the U.S. economy from the top on down. Which one would they prefer? I don't think that the economic downturn, even if it persists through November, stops Trump. I'm honestly not seeing how even that can stop him at this point. Unless it gets so truly bad and you have fucking 30% unemployment or something. If it gets to that point, it's a little bit different. Not that that's what I'm predicting. I think everything will be fine. I think everything will be fine because the president will be Trump again and Trump knows what he's doing. He's doing a reasonably good job, which is something we haven't seen in quite some time. Obama didn't do a good job. W didn't do a good job. W is one of the worst presidents we've ever had. Clinton just wanted to get his dick wet. That's basically all he's known for. He reigned over an economy that was good because of what Reagan had done. He reigned over an economy that was definitely the result of other policies that he wisely didn't touch, to his credit. It's sort of like Obama taking a backseat and saying he's not going to stop the oil boom by banning fracking, which all the environmental groups tried to force him to do. The biggest successes of the two recent Democratic administrations were both instances of them doing nothing. Clinton did nothing to stop the dot-com bubble from rising. Of course, it explodes in the face of Bush, which is hilarious. And then Obama on energy. Oh, really, the last president that we had that was beyond simply mediocre was Ronald Reagan, and even he is not a great president. When people are part of the Reagan worship cult, I laugh. Reagan is nothing to be worshipped. He was, his biggest forte was that he was a calm, grandfatherly demeanor dude, and he kept people calm while he was ramping up nukes and doing crazy shit and forcing the USSR to implode its own economy. That's great. It's wonderful. And then he was very pro-business as well. But really, the true finesse of his presidency was all cult of personality. It wasn't policy at large. Trump is almost a little bit similar. The fact that Trump, for instance, is putting on a solemn face and saying the right things right now is getting him praise from the goddamn same media that's been crucifying him for several years. It's not because of the policy. People are ignoring the policy because nature will take care of the epidemic. No, they're focused on his demeanor. He looks presidential, which is something he doesn't do on Twitter because he plays an unhinged individual in the movies, so to speak. And he'll probably win re-election, but I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is right to do this. If anyone's going to have a chance, it's Biden, because Bernie won't be the nominee. Biden has been the presumptive nominee now for several days. The Bernie bros are oblivious to this. Or they're totally demoralized, like that one dude who told his fans to go shoot other people in a violent rage and has since closed his account. Wise move, because, you know, you would have been profiled on this channel. It would have been very funny to see the fallout from that when you get reported to the police 1,000 times by my fans. You made the right decision. You should stay silent the rest of your life. That's about all. Peace out.